I'm gonna start now because I have only 27 minutes.
Yes.
And a quick, is it recording the? Thank you. The quick backstory is that I was always interested in education as a whole, in every aspect of it, but I realized in my mind that if something is going to be effective, the policy, for me at least, is the way to go, because while the pedagogical methods can affect individuals, but policy making actually affects the whole system. So it nudges the direction into the way that is desirable, if talking in futures language. So that's why I was interested in that, and also I was interested in futures thinking as well. So combining these, I arrived at this by actually seeing your topic with your research group and the data available. I arrived at this topic that I would analyze the surveys of the scenarios and essays that teachers have written about their vision about teaching in 2050, and compare it to a policy document issued by the University of Helsinki in collaboration with many stakeholders and other universities about teacher education in 2050. And you might say, well, that's teacher education. These are teachers about education in general, so how can you connect that? We will get to that when we're discussing the data. So, these are my research questions. I'm going to start with that because then I'm going to explain the concepts that I needed to read about and search about to be able to write this thesis. So first of all, since our lens is the themes available in the policy document, Teacher Education 2050, so the first thing is to answer this question based on the document, and this is really easy because they have outlined the themes themselves. And I'm going to explain about the policy document later, so don't worry, I have the screenshot and everything. So, the first question is that we need to identify the themes, describe them a little bit, nuances and stuff, so we know what lenses we are looking through when looking at the teacher's essays. So then we were going to analyze the teacher's essays, and we agreed on in-service teachers because I remembered and checked all the emails that we sent to each other, and we agreed between pre-service and in-service. We said maybe we focus on the in-service teacher because they have had experiences, and we analyzed their futures vision through these themes like digitalization, well-being and stuff. But also, since these data, these essays, are full of opportunities and insights, it would be really good to extract some insight from them. Like, for example, are the visions transformative, or do they want to preserve this whole structure? And I will get to that later because I have a first impression of the data. I went through them, I preliminary read them for the first time, but the thorough analysis will be later, but for now I have the first impression. So, based on the research questions, we have some concepts that I needed to get familiar with. For example, in the area of futures thinking, we have the futures vision, the backtesting, and the scenarios, which are actually related together. So backtesting is when you have a vision and you start coming to the present time to see which developments happen, which is actually happening also in the essays data and also in the policy document. At first I didn't realize that, but when I read that, I saw that those themes that I thought were unrelated were actually the developments, and we'll get to that later, but it was exciting for me. So the themes of the policy document, the vision, was about eco-crisis, the general theme, because it had specific elements, but we're focusing on the general theme. So eco-crisis, which is about environment, well-being, safety, diversity, and digitalization were the main themes, goals and visions for the Teacher Education 2050. And we have professional agency, because this is really related, as Antti and Verpanen have demonstrated in their article, that teachers are not mere passive receiver of the policy. They actually enact on it. They actually enact on it based on the environment, and they actually enact on it with temporal elements in mind. So we have agents in the past, in the present, and in the future, which we want to focus on the agents in the future as well, because nowadays we only focus on the agency in the present and past. So these are the key concepts. I'm sorry, I'm talking fast because I don't have much time. But if you have any question, you're welcome to ask during the presentation. If any like vague thing ambiguity exists. So this was we're getting to the data. This was how the data gathered. It was a link, a website that you could click on the link and open. I don't know it's not a Google form. It's not regular forms, but it was nice. So this is the consent form, and this is the this is the gender. So man, woman, neither. And this is here they put the title of their position. Are they didactico, as they would say, teacher trainer, or either are they subject teachers, or are they student teachers to be teachers in the future? And the subjects that teach. So I just wanted to have the feel of the form that they.
And this is some kind of automatic translation.
Yeah, it's because your English version didn't open; it was expired. So I opened the Finnish version in Chrome, and it was translated by Google Translate.
I hope the formulation was not sexual.
Yeah.
When asking about the children, I was a bit nervous about my English. Okay.
So let's get to the contextual information about the respondents, so you get the feeling. So we had many options on teaching experience levels, but other options were non-existent between the teachers. So I only provided the existent parts. So we had 4 participants with between 1 and 2 years experience. We had 10 with 3 to 10 years, and we had 4 participants with 10 to 20. We didn't have anyone more than 20 years, and they were number coded. So this was code 7, this was code 6, this was code 5, and we had, I think, 2 of our participants, which I did not include here, were from pre-service, so they had less than 1 year experience. And here you can see the numbers: teacher trainers, didactico, 5 from 20, subject teachers 11, pre-service students 3, and there was an option called other, MOO, but I didn't know, there was no information on what that meant. Maybe I can ask you later, which is that one individual that is not in these categories.
I think you might want to exclude.
I might want
and
to
also,
exclude that,
also maybe the teacher trainers.
Okay.
You might exclude, then it would be easier for you
Subject
to
teachers.
say that they all were subject teachers, or also maybe pre-service students.
Because
I mean, you
one of the
don't have to
pre-service-
analyze them all.
No. I looked at them preliminary, but one of these pre-service students had 1 or 2 years experience, so I can include that person in the analysis, but I can also include other ones. So these are the subjects. The number of people have subjects. Math and chemistry were the most, like 8 people. Physics were 6. Biology was 3. Geography was, I think, 2. And there were other subjects: information technology, environmental studies, and I think, technology. Another one wrote technology, but I think it's close to information technology. So the diversity is there, but there is no humanities except, I don't know if you count geography as humanities. In my country, we count it as humanities. But there are no humanities subjects here, like psychology or something. We used to teach that in high school. Psychology, sociology.
But the reason for this distribution is that the data was collected in the same era.
Mm-hmm.
That was for North teachers who teach science and maths.
So, I'm sorry, you want to?
Just maybe an important thing to mention also, that all those teachers are not normal teachers, but they are teachers who also supervise teachers' practice in Norsi. So they are very, let's say, they are forerunners in many sense. They are not
influential.
Influential.
What did you mean by the supervising?
The Finnish teacher education system, that all the subject teachers, students go to the Norsi, with the two schools that are owned by the university.
Okay,
They are
maybe,
normal
okay.
schools, but they practice teaching there. So
Is
these
this,
respondents, Alice
okay.
respondents, are the teachers who work
Okay,
in those
okay.
schools. So they, most of the year they just teach the students, but during these teacher practice periods, they also supervise teachers, the pre-service teachers.
Okay.
Yeah, and give feedback on their teaching.
Okay.
So they are very interesting group of people. Yeah.
So 2 questions were the main questions that we analyzed, because after this there was a survey, there was a questionnaire, multiple choice questionnaire about futures consciousness, but we wanted to stick to the surveys. So first is that I brought the exact question so you get the feeling of it. So you're working in 2050, if you're a teacher, if you're not, how would the classroom or society would look like? And the second question is that, okay, what developments have happened? But the thing is that I think, in my first impression, was that they happen to be similar in the answers. Not all of them, but some of the answers were similar. And it's no problem, we can use that interchangeably. If we see developments, we put it in the category. If we see visions, we put it in this category. But so the lens is the visions of the policy document. So even I can analyze the answers to this question through those lenses. So whether it's developments or whether it's just a vision, it doesn't matter, because the title of the theme is more important. So if it's about digitalization, whether it's a development or whether it's a vision, it can be there.
Well done.
So my first impression, I'm gonna quote some examples from the data, but here's my first impression. There were some data on recording time. You might say that what importance does it do? But it is important if you want to be precise and see how contextual environment of this time influences their vision in the future, because their vision is not the isolation of their cognitive process. Everything that is happening right now actually influences your vision in the future, even for your personal self. For example, if you're living in Gaza right now, you might have a very different projection of the future. If you're living in Iran, you don't have any future vision, because you know that every day can be different to the before day. So this is actually something that but for master's thesis, I don't know how much I can pay attention to that, maybe for future, but I can point to that in this time, in this context, these is the things that are happening in the world, so maybe it has an influence. One can see differences between gender if they want to, or teaching experience, how does that influence the themes in their analysis? But again, this is not our main goal. This can be our contextual analysis. So, as I said, maybe research path opportunities, and North Sea supervising teachers in math and science subjects. There were some themes that I found out immediately when I read them, because they were most repeating. For example, there were mentions of well-being and human interaction. It was apparent that teachers were concerned and wanted to point out human interaction is still important in that vision. For example, this is one of the excerpts. There are 2 tasks in the Future Vision classroom. The first is to talk and smile and talk to the students. So this is one of the examples of how teachers is actually concerned about preserving the human connection. Or there were some criticality of digital integration. In that same teacher mentions that because they spend most of their time interacting with the machine, is that same interaction is important. And I've seen this criticality of digital innovation in many of the readings, even when they point out that this technology is going to take over everything, they are critical of it. So they are looking at it with somewhat caution and pessimism, but negative like coloring or tone. Or, they talk about future technology. Most of them have said that like AI will be there, or augmented reality will be there, like virtual reality will be there. But the thing is that, as you see here, this person mentions AI-powered lesson planning, and he mentions that AI will review my plans that I've designed, but most of them actually focus that teacher is still a teacher. Teacher with some modifications, maybe as a facilitator, maybe as someone who provides communication or makes people feel good, but teacher is still in charge. So the concept of teacher is still there. So it's not transformative. Transformative not in a positive sense. I'm not using them as a positive sense. I'm using it in just descriptive. So they're not transforming the whole structure. They're just modifying these concepts. For example, like the reason that I'm moving past because I don't have much time, so because I want to provide you with some opportunities, lenses to see these, so I have to move forward. But again, any questions you can ask. So for my first impression, there were answer diversity. Some provided relatively short answers, even like 1 or 2 sentences. Some provided long, detailed stories. Their dominant themes were from the themes that I'm going to discuss were digitalization and eco-crisis. So many people, like one of the excerpts told that Finland would be a wine country now, and there would be wars over the North Pole countries because of the resources and stuff. Mm-hmm. So these were the 2 most discussed. And diversity was the least discussed. It was discussed as a sense that there would be each learning path for each student, but the thing that was absent, at least in my perspective, the diversity that we're seeing here, the trend that a student population in Finland is not just white people anymore. So in a sense that there are more and more like African people or Asian people or I don't know, from Middle East. So this was not discussed in any of the visions. I have to go more through that, but I think it was a little underrepresented in the essays. And this was one of the things that caught my eyes. The structures were still there. So nobody said that, okay, school is not school. A school as a central institution to get the knowledge was still there. Even if it was controlled by AI, even if it was like this, I don't know, high tech, or even if it was virtual, but the schools were still there. Teachers were still there. Whatever the role, doesn't matter. And there were also some stuff about education in nature. Somebody also actually predicted that with the ambient technology that we have, we would actually crave nature more. So we would study in the nature with calmness and stuff to get away from all this technology. So these are all some. I just wanted to give you a taste of what the data looks like. So through the literature, now we've been through the data. Through the literature, is everything okay there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So through the literature, I have found so many lenses, so many opportunities that I was really excited about, but I tried to control myself and focus through one lens. So one of the interesting ones was scenario types. This is a lens to analyze scenarios. So they provide, based on literature, several other categories and typologies, but the typology they offered was that you can see if a scenario is a predictive one, what will happen in the future. Forecasts means based on these trends. So if these trends continue, what will happen? Or what if scenarios, which means you provide them with the specific conditions and they have to predict what will happen in the future. Or is it explorative? Based on external factors, for example, weather, everything, or is it explorative based on strategic actions? Strategic actions, which means that I want to modify one internal factor or 2 internal factors and see what happens in the short-term future. These are long-term, these are short-term, more short-term. And normative, as I was talking about transformative or preserving, so normative means that I want to move toward one preferable vision of future. So would I be preserving this structure and improving it, or would I see this structure impeding the preferred vision, so I would be transforming the structure with the backcasting method? So this was one of the options of the lenses. Another one is that...
Ali, by the way, sorry, I think I made a mistake with the clock. I mean, you have more time.
I have until 3:45.
Quarter past, yeah. I was talking... Sorry. Why did... I think it was perfect. Ichiro took 45 minutes and you also had 45 minutes.
Okay,
Right.
okay, now.
I'm sorry, I made
Let's have a break.
I thought we have to finish at past, but we don't.
We have to 3:45.
Exactly.
I thought you want the final quarter for yourself or something.
No, sorry. My
Yeah.
So please,
Yeah,
you still have like 20 minutes.
Okay, good.
So
So-
we even get to discuss. This is perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I will want to have like 10 minutes to discuss with
Yes.
each other. I don't have any specific problems, but I would want your feedback to see how I'm doing and like everything. So there is another lens which aims at the basic question of what do you mean by the future? You're saying futures of education, future. What does the future here represent? And they actually found that there are 4 levels of this meaning in educational discourse. Education in the future refers to how would education look like in the future, which I think the essays are mostly pointing in that direction. But we can find evidence and traces of other things as well. For example, education to adapt is that futures have some aspects, for example, global warming, war and stuff, or competencies, where you have heard much about competencies in the 21st, 22nd century or something. So job market is changing, everything is changing, we have to adapt for that future. And when you progress toward the end, the criticality increases. And by criticality, I mean questioning the basis. For example, if we're saying the future is something, and we want to adapt to that, the next level maybe tells you that we want to change the education, not the education. No, we want to change the future, not the future to change us. So the criticality increases. Education to change, to transform the society in the future. But still, here we have one vision of future that we want to change the future into that. But here we have education of the future, where we learn that there is no single future. We have futures. As you remember from the global education course, we had a cone. So there was preferable one, which was, we had the possible, plausible, preferable, and like the whole cone. So I forgot to put the cone, sorry. It would be so much better if I had the cone. But you remember that, so we have a whole area of scenarios that could happen. And we have some wild cards that could drastically change the direction of futures. So this is another lens that we can look through the data for, look at data through. Another one is not about the essays, but about the policy itself. So in their analysis of the policy issued by the UNESCO, they tried the speculative method. They didn't want to say that, okay, this sentence means that, this sentence, they didn't analyze it in that way. So they offer up a whole new way of methodology of analyzing policies. Based on a critical tradition, they say that these policies actually have in themselves values by the issuers. So the issuers or the council have some desires, they put it in the policy. So it's not just neutral. And they try to show that by visualizing the policy with AI. So they made some pictures and they showed that you see this policy, this is how emotional aspects of it would look like. And I forgot what I wanted to say. Yeah, and there is no one way of analyzing the policy. That's what they wanted to say. It's all speculative, not definitive. So it's a nice innovation in analyzing policies. And as I talked about teacher agency in shaping futures and how it would be important also to analyze how much teachers feel agency in changing the shape of the futures of education, and how are they using the environment to utilize that agency. So these are all the lens, and this one was an important one, Anthropocene. So Anthropocene refers to the area in time that the human influence actually is more on the environment than environment's influence on itself. So before Industrial Revolution and all these developments, nature influenced itself through events and stuff. earthquakes, fires. But from some point in the history, which would be at the beginning of 20th century, I think, or at the end of 19th century, around a time around that, I don't remember the exact year. But many scientists started to say that we are going through Anthropocene context. Anthro, which means human beings. So we are actually seeing that human beings influence nature more than nature itself. So it causes some problems, and it actually drastically changes the direction of the future. So we can also see, for example, how do teachers refer to the futures? Do they actually recognize the futures, or do they point to the single future? Do they have a preferable one, or do they just extend this trend that is happening? So these are all the lenses that you can see. And the last one, precision education governance. This is not much related to the futures, but still, because Christina Brunilla and her colleagues, you know her from inequalities class. So they have this concept that education is now, and everything, not just education, but higher education, is moving towards preciseness and reducing people to data, so we can control people with manipulating elements and data. For example, this when you're going through YouTube and everything, people gather data from you. So that data is actually used to control you. So that is the kind of governance that precision education governance goes through. They want to analyze you into small elements, compartments, so that they can control you towards that. And we can analyze the essays to see how much this mode of governance is actually influencing teachers' visions also, or is it present, or are there teachers who are critical of this current mindset and current economically adjusted mindset to see everything in terms of precision, money, and transactions. So these are all the possible lenses, but this is our lens. So in this document, you need to understand that the description and the sentences are different from the vision and aim that is provided. Because what I understood is that the policy document actually provides some aims that can be categorized. These are exact quotes from the, relatively exact quotes from the document. For example, Finland's educational system to be the world's best education system through the stakeholders' collaboration. Another one was to promote learning, well-being equally and equitably throughout life. Or teachers develop a strong professionalism and professional agency through research-based. So these were all the aims, but these were like hopes more than aims, not the exact themes and visions. These are goals that will be reached through enacting on those aims. And one thing that was especially new for me in that document was that instead of focusing on the visions and describing those visions, it focused on how we can reach there. It was, at first I didn't understand. I remember our discussion that I was like, why does it not discuss that? It's unrelated. But then I realized these are actually developments that are needed to happen there. So the policy document itself actually backcasts on those visions. So it's an interesting example of that. So they say that, because this is not our aim, I will go through it quickly, but the first development is that you need to increase the attractiveness of the teaching profession through universities that are responsible for teacher education, to decrease the retention and increase the attractiveness of this profession. Then you would need to provide continuous expertise development for teachers through continuous research-based teacher education, and then local, global, and national institutions need to collaborate with each other. Notice my hands, because local and everything is vertical, and horizontal means every institution in the same level. They need to collaborate with themselves to, as the policy document also does, to make all this happen. And the leadership is also something that is important in reaching this vision. So, and now, finally, we get to the lens. So we decided to focus on the outer part of the vision. safety, eco-crisis, growing diversity, digitalization, and well-being. These are the aims, practices, and contextual factors. So I think the outer part is maybe the aims, but nevertheless, we decided to focus on the outer part. Maybe in the future research projects, we can actually move closer and look closer on the other aspects of this policy as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Veli.